In this tutorial, I'll be going over the basics of how to paint an animal eye using acrylic paints. I'll be using a synthetic round brush, size 1, but if you don't have size 1, then just the smallest that you can get is the best. And on my palette, I'm just mixing blues, yellows, black and white. Before painting my own eye, it's important to understand what eye is actually made up of anatomically. Now, because I'm going to be painting a leopard eye, I've taken this picture of a big cat eye off Google Images, and I'm just using it as an example. So without getting too scientific, as you can see, you've got the pupil, which in big cats is actually round rather than a slit like a domestic cat. Then you've got the iris, which is the coloured bit in the middle, and it's almost made up of sort of rings or layers of colours. And finally, you have the third eyelid, or we call it the nictitating membrane, which is kind of like a shield that works to protect the eye from particles and like dust. And it's kind of like ours, our tear ducts are inside there. And big cats have a black nictitating membrane. First of all, I'm just layering up the colours of the iris by using a mixture of black and white to make a kind of grey, and then adding some blue to that to make a kind of bluish grey. My eye is actually going to be out of the light source and in the shadow, so I've started on a dark background rather than on a white background. This is just going to make my life a lot easier down the line. Because my leopard is side on as well, the top of the eye and the side of the eye is going to be in the shade, so I'll keep that quite dark and have the lighter areas around by the bottom of the eye, which is going to be in the light source. Big cat eyes like leopards and tigers and stuff are particularly fascinating because they're made up of so many colours. So where human eyes are made up of sort of various shades of blue or brown, big cat eyes are made up of blues, yellows, greens. There's usually so many colours in there, so it's really fun to experiment with different colours. I knew from the minute that I started planning this painting that this leopard was always going to have a bluey, turquoisey kind of eyes. So I'm going around and adding shades of blue and turquoise and yellow, a little bit of green in there, all the while keeping in those undertones of black and white as well, so they're kind of a steely grey colour too. Okay, so the last part of the painting, and this is my favourite part because it really starts to take shape, is the reflections in the eye. It's really important to remember when you're doing the reflections that the eye is both three-dimensional and spherical, so the light will be bouncing off it and reflecting like trees and other animals or clouds or whatever the animal is looking at. I always find it really fun to imagine what would be reflecting in the eye of your animal. So for me, I think this leopard is probably looking at some sort of prey, maybe another animal, and there'll be trees around, so I'm just working in that sort of reflection into my eye. And there you have it.